Welcome to The Client Engine, the podcast for founders who want consistent clients, lean systems, and a business that doesn't rely on hustle. In each episode, we explore the tools, automations, and frameworks that help service-based entrepreneurs grow without burning out. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building a smarter client engine, you're in the right place. And here's your host, Sabrina Renée Kinckle.
Welcome to The Client Engine. I'm Sabrina Renée Kinckle, and today we're starting something a little different, a two-part series called From Invisible to In Demand. If you ever felt like you're doing great work, but nobody notices, this series is for you. In part one, I'm going to walk you through the foundation, why proof matters more than noise, how to uncover the 3 urgent pains your audience already has, and how to turn those pains into 4 powerful proof assets. Then, in our part 2 episode, we'll build on that with real stories, soft calls to action, and a 30-day calendar you can follow step by step. So think of today as laying the groundwork and the next episode as building the engine. So have you ever felt like the internet is basically a giant high school cafeteria? You've got the loud tables, the cool kids, the ones performing for attention, and then maybe you sitting there with your tray thinking, how on earth do I get anyone to notice what I bring to the table? Most business owners think the answer is get louder. If I could just post every single day, if I could just rack up 200,000 followers, if I could just make my video go viral. But here's the thing nobody tells you. If you have 200,000 followers and no sales, as I've said before, all you have is a very expensive fan club. And unless you're Beyonce, that's not the business model you were going for. The truth is, invisibility isn't cured by noise, it's cured by proof. Now, before we dive into this 30-day system, let me give you a quick reason why you should even listen to me in the first place. I've spent years running a digital marketing firm called Calvary Consulting, where we help companies with things like SEO, brand overhauls, email campaigns, lead generation, and our flagship service we call Web Intensives, basically building digital engines that attract and convert clients. And here's what I've learned working with hundreds of businesses. It's not the loudest ones that grow the fastest. It's the ones who create proof of value. So clear that clients show up saying, where do I sign? I've seen a client go from being practically invisible on Google to ranking in weeks just by publishing proof-driven case examples. I've watched coaches land premium clients after creating a simple series of proof posts. And yes, I've had to look entrepreneurs in the eye and say, you don't have a sales problem, you have a proof problem. So I don't just believe in proof, I've watched it transform businesses. That's why I'm sharing this with you today. So let's go back to that cafeteria metaphor. Picture everyone yelling about how great they are. One person's waving their hands, another is passing out flyers, another is shouting prices. It's chaos. Now imagine you walk by one quiet table. No shouting, just samples. Real food. People taking bites, smiling, nodding. Proof. Who do you trust? Not the yellers. You trust the one who showed you, not the one who shouted at you. That's what proof does online. Proof turns strangers into believers without you having to scream for attention. Let's put this into the real world. Maybe this sounds familiar. You've got a coach, a consultant, or maybe a small business owner. Super talented, their clients love them, but online, crickets. So they start pitching, they cold DM, they discount, they beg for 15 minutes to connect. They start sounding more like telemarketers than experts. And here's the problem. Pitching without proof feels desperate, and nothing kills authority faster than desperation. Now flip the script. Imagine instead of chasing, you show proof. You publish a quick guide that actually solves a real headache. You share a small but powerful win a client had. You show a before and after transformation, or maybe you document your process so others can use it. Now You don't look desperate. You look in demand. Proof does the selling for you. Take David Perel. When he started, he had 73 followers, not 73,000, 73. And yet today, his writing program costs thousands of dollars, has wait lists, and counts best-selling authors and CEOs among its students. So how to get there? Proof. He wrote thoughtful essays, proof of his thinking, proof of his depth. Those essays spread and authority followed. We can also look at Anne-Laure Lecomte, who launched Nest Labs without a PhD or a big name. She simply shared her experiments in productivity. Newsletter after newsletter, her proof stacked up. And today she's quoted by academics, partnered with universities, and has one of the most respected newsletters in her field. Both David and Anne-Laure started Invisible. Both became in demand, and the bridge was proof. At Kilbury Consulting, we saw this with a client who came to us saying, we don't exist on Google. Nobody even knows we're here. And their instinct was to spend heavily on ads, but instead we built them a proof system. We published content showing exactly how their solutions tackled industry-specific pains, not ads, just proof. Within weeks, prospects were finding those examples in search. Calls shifted from, who are you? To, we've seen what you did for others. Can we talk about you doing the same for us? And that's the difference between invisible and in demand. So let's get something clear. You don't need a massive following to be respected, to get clients, or to charge premium prices. If you think you need tens of thousands of followers before anyone takes you seriously, let me break that myth for you right now. Authority doesn't live in your follower count. It lives in your proof. Proof is what makes people say, this person can help me. Proof is what makes people trust you before they've even spoken to you. And proof is what we're going to build together in this episode. Here's what I'll walk you through step by step. First, how to identify 3 urgent pain points your audience is already feeling. Second, how to create 4 proof assets that solve those pains. Third, how to share 2 mini case notes that show your method actually works. And finally, how to close with 1 soft call to action that invites people in naturally. By the end, you'll have a 30-day calendar that demonstrates your value so clearly, prospects lean in instead of scrolling past. And here's the best part. You don't need fancy tools, a big budget, or a massive audience. You just need to prove what you can already do. So if you've ever felt invisible online, if you've ever wondered why your content isn't converting, if you've ever been tired of chasing leads, you're in the right place. Because in the next few sections, I'm going to show you how to use proof to flip the script, so instead of being ignored, you become in demand. If proof is the bridge from invisible to in demand, then urgent pains are the foundation you build that bridge on. Because here's the reality. Nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I hope I find a coach or a consultant to follow today. No. People wake up saying, how do I stop losing money? Why does this process keep breaking? Why do I have all of this time on my calendar? How do I get more clients without burning out? In other words, they're walking around with headaches. And if you can name their headache better than they can, they'll automatically trust you to have the aspirin. So the first step of your 30-day proof of value system is to pinpoint 3 urgent pains your audience is already dealing with, not someday problems, not nice to fix problems. I mean the ones that are keeping them up at night. And you might be wondering, why 3? Why not 10? Why not 1? Well, 3 is the sweet spot. With just 1 pain, you sound like a broken record, right? With 10, you end up spreading yourself so thin that you lose clarity. And that's really, really hard to manage. But 3 gives you enough range to prove your depth without overwhelming your audience. So think of it like a doctor specializing in 3 common conditions. You don't need to be the expert in everything. You just need to be the go-to for a few very specific pains. Let's say you're a business coach for solopreneurs. You could identify pains like, I don't know how to get consistent clients, or I feel like I'm working all the time but not making enough money, or I hate selling. I wish clients would just find me. See how urgent those feel? A solopreneur doesn't hear those and think, maybe later. They think, oh my gosh, that's me right now. And when you build proof around those pains, you're not just publishing random tips, you're answering the exact questions your market is already asking at 2 a.m. Let me give you a quick Kelbry example. A company came to us wanting more visibility. On the surface, their problem sounded vague. They said something along the lines of, we just need to get our name out there. But after digging, we found three urgent pains behind what was really a very vague request. Number one, their website wasn't ranking for the terms prospects actually searched. Number two, their leads were dropping off before booking a call. And number three, their sales team kept saying, nobody knows who we are. Once we identified those pains, everything clicked. Instead of chasing likes, we built SEO-driven proof content addressing those exact pains. And guess what happened? Prospects started finding them because the proof matched the pains. And that's the key. Proof only works if it's anchored to a pain that already matters to your audience. Now, let's clear up a trap I see all the time, confusing preferences with pains. A preference is, it'd be nice if my website had a fresh design. A pain is, my outdated website is costing me leads every single day. A preference is, I'd love to improve my presentation skills one day. A pain is, oh my gosh, I'm about to pitch to investors, and if I blow it, I won't get funded. See the difference? Preferences don't get budgets. Pains do. Okay, so how do you actually uncover these pains? Here are three ways I recommend. Number one, listen in the wild. Go to LinkedIn, Reddit, industry forums. Look for the unfiltered complaints people post. The phrases that start with, I can't figure out, or I'm so frustrated because. That's gold. Number two, audit your inbox. What are the recurring themes in the questions prospects ask you? If three people in a row say, we're not showing up in searches, that's not a coincidence. That's a pain worth proving against. And number three, talk to your best clients. Ask them, when you first came to me, what felt urgent? What did you need solved immediately? And you'll often find the exact language you should be using in your proof assets. I want you to actually do this right now, or at least as soon as you finish listening to this episode. Write down three pains your audience is already experiencing. Be brutally specific. Instead of marketing problems, write spending money on ads with zero return. Instead of time management issues, write working 12-hour days and still missing deadlines. If you can't name three urgent pains, your proof is going to fall flat. You'll be publishing into the void, hoping someone cares. But if you can name those pains clearly, your proof will hit like a magnet. So here's a little trick to test if a pain is urgent enough. Ask yourself, would someone pay to fix this tomorrow? If the answer is yes, congratulations, you've got a real pain. If the answer is no, it's probably a preference, so set it aside. Here's the magic of this step. Once you know the three urgent pains, the rest of the 30-day proof system becomes easy. Your proof assets will show how you solve those pains. Your case notes will demonstrate real transformations, and your soft call to action will invite people who have those pains to step closer. Everything flows from here. Without it, you're just guessing. With it, you're strategic. And look, I get it. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we overcomplicate this. We think we need some big blue ocean strategy or fancy positioning exercise, but really it comes down to listening. If 10 people in your audience are screaming about the same headache, you don't need a workshop to decide what to talk about. You need to be the one who says, here's the aspirin. And here's a fun reality check. If you can't name your audience's top 3 pains, you're not invisible because the algorithm is against you. You're invisible because you're not talking about what actually hurts. So that's your first job in this 30-day system. Identify 3 urgent pains. Once you've got those, you're ready for the next move, turning them into proof assets. And that's exactly what we're going to tackle right now. So, all right, you've got your 3 urgent pain points written down. If you don't, hit pause, grab a sticky note, and actually write them, because otherwise this next part that I'm going to cover won't stick. So here comes the fun part, turning those pains into proof assets. Think of proof assets like tiny billboards of credibility you put out in the world. And each one says, not only do I understand your pain, I can help you solve it. And here's the kicker. You don't need a giant marketing team, studio lights, or a Madison Avenue budget to make them. You just need 4 strong pieces of proof. That's it, 4. Because 4 gives you enough variety to prove depth without turning your life into a nonstop content treadmill. With 1 proof asset, people assume you got lucky. With 2, they'll say, okay, that's interesting. 3, and you're actually starting to lean in. And with 4, they're convinced you're the real deal. After 4, everything else is gravy. So let's talk about what those assets could be. Remember, proof assets are not about being flashy. They're about being useful. So here are 4 categories you can use. Category 1, the quick win guide. Now, this is where you put something together that's short and actionable, that solves a tiny slice of the bigger pain. So, for example, if your audience struggles with spending money on ads that don't work, your quick win could be a 2-page checklist called 3 ad metrics to check before spending another dollar. Second category, the before and after. Humans love transformation stories. Show what life looked like before and what it looks like after. So for example, before, 15 calls a week, 0 conversions. After, 7 calls a week, 5 conversions. The third category is the process snapshot. And here's where you share a small part of your method, not the whole thing, just one slice that makes people go, wow, that was pretty clever. That's smart. And for this one, because this particular category works really well, I actually recommend that with all of the categories that I'm mentioning here, that you find a way to use this one very, very specifically. So I'm going to give you a few examples of this one. First, let me give you the coaching consulting angle. Let's say you're a coach or a consultant. A good example could be something like a discovery call flow with just 7 questions that move a conversation from small talk to signed client. It's not the whole sales process, but it's enough to make people think, wow, I'd feel confident running calls if I just had that. Another example, let's say the SEO angle, and this one's relevant to us. We actually have this, a mini checklist for ranking a blog post. 1 keyword, 1 clear headline, 3 subheads, and a call to action at the end. It's simple, but when clients apply it, they finally see traffic that actually converts. And then the last example I'll give for this category would be, let's say you're someone where you work in productivity or operations, something like a 10-minute daily team huddle script, 3 questions that cut meetings in half and surface issues before they become fires. When leaders see it, they can't unsee it. They realize how much time they're wasting. So the 4th category for proof assets that we find really, really powerful is the visual proof. Something visual that makes the pain and the solution crystal clear. Charts, screenshots, mock-ups, whatever fits your world. An example could be a side-by-side of search rankings before SEO work versus after. So let's say you're a health coach. Your 3 urgent pains are, I don't know what to eat, I never stick to a workout routine, and I'm always stressed and exhausted. Your 4 proof assets could look like this. Maybe a quick win guide, 7 grocery swaps that instantly make your diet cleaner. For the before and after, maybe it can be a client who lost 15 pounds and doubled their energy. For the process snapshot, Maybe a simple 10-minute morning routine that sticks. And for the visual proof, a weekly meal plan calendar that shows exactly how it fits in real life. Now you've got 4 assets that show, not tell, that you solve real problems. And here's one from us. Here's one from Kilbury Consulting. In our web intensives, we often hear this pain. Our website looks great, but it's not bringing in clients. So we build proof assets around it. For a quick win guide, we offer a one-page checklist called 5 website elements that quietly kill conversions. For the before and after, we like showing screenshots of a client's old homepage versus their new one, plus the jump in booked calls. That one's very effective. For a process snapshot, we have a framework we call the Hero CTA sandwich that shows how to structure a homepage hero section. Works really well. And then for our visual proof, we have a simple funnel diagram showing how traffic flows from ads or SEO into the site and out into leads. So these 4 pieces say more than any sales pitch ever could, and they don't feel salesy, they feel helpful. So why do proof assets work so well? Well, there are really 3 reasons. Number 1, they lower risk. A prospect doesn't have to wonder, can this person actually help me? They've seen it with your proof assets. Number 2, they flip the script. Instead of you chasing them, your assets are actually pulling them in. Prospects start thinking, wow, if this is what they gave away for free, imagine what I'd get if I actually hired them. And especially if your proof assets, and what we found very much so is with the process related one, if your proof asset helps them do business better, or they can actually see how, just traces of how this could help them or is starting to help them, all the better. And number 3, they build trust faster. People buy from those they trust. Proof assets are trust building machines. Now, my big recommendation is don't overcomplicate it. I know some of you are already overthinking. You're picturing some glossy 50-page white paper or a video series with drone footage. Stop. Proof assets are not about production value. They're about clarity and usefulness. A screenshot is a proof asset. A sticky note turned into a framework is a proof asset. A short audio clip of you explaining a process is a proof asset. Remember, perfection doesn't create clients, proof does. So let's laugh at ourselves for a second, because I've seen people make proof assets harder than launching a rocket. Let me go through a few mistakes that I've seen. Mistake number 1, sharing vague fluff. An example would be something like 5 mindset shifts for success. Sounds nice, but nobody's going to pay tomorrow to fix a vague mindset shift. Tie it into an urgent pain. Mistake number 2, dumping the whole kitchen sink. You don't need to give away your entire system in one asset. Just show one piece that proves you know your stuff. And the third mistake that I see very often is hiding the proof. Posting one case study on your website's resources page and never sharing it is like whispering your best story into a pillow. Proof needs to be seen. I'm going to give you some homework. Here's what I want you to do after this episode. Number 1, take your 3 urgent pains. Number 2, use them to create one proof asset for each pain. And then number 3, create one wildcard proof asset, something visual, a case note, or even a mini guide that ties the 3 together. That gives you your 4. And once you have those 4, you're not invisible anymore. You're visible, credible, and magnetic. And by the way, if you want feedback on what you come up with, email us. Email us at support@kilburyconsulting.com with proof assets in the subject line, and we'll review them and provide some recommendations. So here's a funny thing. Once you have your proof assets, you'll realize you don't need to chase every shiny marketing hack. If someone asks, why should I work with you? You won't scramble for the perfect elevator pitch. You'll just say, here, check this out. Proof asset, done. And if you're still thinking, but what if I don't have case studies yet? Don't worry. We'll actually cover that in our part 2 episode when we talk about mini case notes and how to create proof even when you're just starting. So step 2 of your 30-day system is clear. Create 4 proof assets. Simple, strategic, and way more powerful than chasing likes. Because at the end of the day, likes don't pay the bills. Proof does. So that's it for part 1 of From Invisible to In Demand. You now know how to spot the 3 urgent pains that usually move people to action and how to create 4 proof assets that show, not just tell, that you can solve those pains. In the next episode, part 2, we'll go deeper. I'll show you how to craft 2 mini case notes that make your proof human, how to create soft calls to action that feel natural, and how to pull it all together in a 30-day calendar that actually works. So don't miss it, because that's where everything clicks into place. And if you're listening right now thinking, I need this proof system in my business yesterday, here's my soft call to action. That's exactly what we help build in our web intensives at Kelbry Consulting. We create the assets, the strategy, and the system so that you can stop chasing and start attracting. You can reach out directly at kelbryconsulting.com or connect with me on LinkedIn, Sabrina Renée Kinckle. No pressure, no timeshare pitch, just an invitation. So I'll see you in part 2 where we begin building your proof engine. Until then, start putting your pains and assets on paper, and remember, proof beats noise every time.
Thank you for listening to The Client Engine. If you're ready to take the next step and join our community of founders building sustainable growth systems, go to kelbryconsulting.com. That's KELBREE consulting.com. And if this episode helped you, follow the show, share it with someone who needs it, or leave a quick review. Your next client engine starts here.